All right, we're gonna get started. We have a piece of fabric here that's gonna act like the piece of clothing. I have chosen a 4-hole button to show you how to sew. And there's lots of different buttons, 2-hole buttons, shank buttons. The shank buttons have a little knob on the back and it just has plain on the top. You see those more on coats and things like that. And we are gonna go ahead and get started with this. So you'll need a spool of thread. If you don't have a spool of thread, I would suggest before you go off on your own that you get one of these little tailoring things, and a lot of times you can find them in hotels. So this is, it's got some thread, a safety pin, some 4-hole buttons, a needle, and it's just handy to have. So when we start out the 4-hole buttons, there's a couple different ways. First off, you're gonna want to sew it on using the same pattern that is used by the other buttons. So that could be parallel this way, parallel this way. It could be an X. It could also be a square. Okay, so just make sure you look at the other buttons to see how they're sewn on so that you're sewing them on in the same fashion. All right, so we're gonna do the parallel lines, and the first thing you're gonna do is thread your needle. And if you can't seem to get it, they have little needle threaders out there that are really inexpensive. You can get like 3 for $1. But cut the thread at an angle. And usually by having it at an angle, you're able to get it in pretty quickly. Okay, and you're going to double thread this, meaning you're taking both ends and you're meeting them at the bottom. And so this is double threaded. It saves you time when you're sewing on a button. And then however you need to sew that or tie the knot is how you tie the knot. So tying a knot, lick your index finger, wrap it around so they overlap. Then you're gonna take your thumb and twist until it comes off of your finger. Take this finger, put it down and pull. And then you have, it's not a very pretty knot, but you have a knot. Okay, you're gonna wanna cut off any extra that you may have on there. And now our needle is threaded and we're ready to get started sewing back on the button. So when we start, I'm gonna put the button where I want it to be, make sure it lines up with the buttonhole of the other side of the shirt or whatever it is you're sewing the button onto. And you're gonna come up from the back. And so you just poke through the fabric till you find a hole. Sometimes it takes, there we go, sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it doesn't. All right, and we're gonna pull it all the way through. And once it gets to the back of it where it's the knot catches it, you're gonna come back and you're gonna go back down on the other side. Okay, and you continue to do that 2 to 3 times. I would do more like 3 because then you have 6 threads that are holding it there. So there's number 2. Okay. And if it doesn't catch, you can always take and pull it till it gets uncaught. So you want to make sure there's no little bubbles or anything like that in there. And then you come up one more time, up, and then down. Some people may say to put a pin on the top to hold some space, but I'm going to show you what to do without that. Okay, and then you're going to come up on the other side, and you're going to do the same thing. So it's going to look like an equal sign. Okay, or it's like if it's an equal sign this way, and I'm gonna do that 3 times. It's 2. And once you get into the swing of it, it's not super hard. Okay, and that's number 3. And when you go down the 3rd time, you're gonna leave the needle on the bottom. Okay, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna make a shank on it so that it strengthens the space between the fabric and the button. And so what you need to do is you need to come up from the back, all right, but underneath, see this here, underneath here. Okay, so I notice, see how it's right by the, see how my butt is, right by that thing, and I just pull it through. And then I hold it like this, and I'm gonna twist it 3 times. So I go around 1 time, 2 time, 3 time. Then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna open my fabric up again. I'm gonna go back down through the fabric. Okay, so see, here's my button. This thread is acting as the shank, and you just poke back through down the center. All right, and you just pull the needle through. Okay, and your needle's sewn on. Now all we have to do is tie a knot in the bottom and we will be set. Okay, so I'm on the bottom. I'm gonna show you really easy. Now the back might look pretty and sometimes it won't. Like I have a bubble there, I probably would do this again. So you go under a stitch to tie the knot. You don't have to tie a knot like a normal knot. You go under a stitch, and then as you are pulling, you see this loop here? As you are pulling this through, you go through the loop and you pull down tight, and that makes one knot. And I would do that at least 2 times. So we go under a stitch and caught on the side there. Okay, under a stitch and through the loop and pull. And then you just take your needle or in your thread and you cut it, and ta-da, we have a button, and it has some space between so it can get you can put it on and get the buttonhole over it. Gives you a little bit of wiggle room there. And that is how you sew on a 4-hole button. Now again, I use the equal sign method, but you could make a square, you could make an X, just make sure they all look the same on the outfit that you're replacing the button. Somewhere, somehow, a button's gonna come off when you need it for an interview or for something that is coming up, like you have a wedding to go to, and you'll need to have know how to do this so that you don't have to go out and buy a new shirt. Because who wants to spend that much money on a shirt when you can just sew the button on? So I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. See you soon.